The GOP, though, has a battle of its own here at home. Senate Republicans launched the so-called nuclear option yesterday, pushing Supreme Court nominee Neil Gorsuch toward confirmation and setting a new precedent. Republicans say the nuclear option was necessary to overcome a Democrat filibuster. Joining us right now is Harvard Law Professor Emeritus and author of Electile Dysfunction, a guide for unaroused voters. Alan Dershowitz is with us. Alan, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
The final confirmation vote expected to take place today, 11:30. Tell us your thoughts on what took place last night. What does this change mean for a future confirmation process?
Well, first of all, the hypocrisy meter of the Senate finally broke yesterday. There was so much hypocrisy. Neither side would take any responsibility for what they had done. The Democrats, for example, used a partisan filibuster for the first time in history against a Supreme Court nominees. So, of course, they should expect that if they do something unprecedented, the Republicans will do something unprecedented. The Republicans never mentioned that they try to block the nomination of Merrick Garland. The Democrats never mentioned that it was Joe Biden who invented this method of saying we won't allow a nominee to go in the last year of a presidency. So much hypocrisy. The losers? The American people.
So what happens now? I mean, was that a huge mistake on the Democrats' part, do you think?
I think so. I think if they were going to do this, they should have saved it for a nominee who's going to change the balance on the Supreme Court. Neil Gorsuch is qualified, maybe not as qualified as Merrick Garland, but very qualified. You don't use the filibuster on a qualified nominee. Remember, even Clarence Thomas, no filibuster. It got through 52 to 48. This was unprecedented.
That's what you said earlier in the week, Dagan.
Alan, do we end up with a court because of this?
We end up with
a court down the road that are just ideological polar opposites, that there's no swing vote anymore.
I think that's potentially correct. Look, if I were writing the Constitution, I would have required a two-thirds vote for Supreme Court nominees because you want consensus candidates that are approved by both parties. It's not the way the Constitution was written. For years, you didn't allow extremist nominees to go through. Now we're going to see extremism on both sides. The losers when you have extremism, again, the American people. We're a centrist country. We thrive at the center. Let me give you the good news, and this is going to be surprising. The Supreme Court is not that important an institution. Once a decade, they really decide a case that has a major impact on the life of Americans. Let me give you an example. Everybody went crazy. Citizens United.
Right.
Look, who won the election? Donald Trump spending a fraction of what Hillary Clinton spent. Has that impacted American politics?
That is such a
Not
good point.
so much. I think a lot of the Supreme Court decisions are overrated. We're a democracy. In the end, the people govern.
But at the same time, you're saying that the losers are the American people. Senator Chuck Schumer said that there will be less faith in the Supreme Court going forward. It sounds like you actually agree with him on that.
And that's a good thing. I don't want 9 people to be governing the United States. I think we should be skeptical of the Supreme Court and of judges. What about
the trust?
Well, you know, you trust an institution if it deserves the trust. Institutions have to deserve the trust they get. You don't trust a judge just because he's wearing a black robe.
But what about the trust in the institution? I mean, as the balance of power in our country.
Well, every institution in America is less trusted.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court is going to be a little less trusted
if
it becomes
once
extreme.
a decade, there's actually a real impact here.
Look, desegregation changed America.
Right.
Even reapportionment, we thought that would change America. But look, the Republicans figured out a way around reapportionment, and they now control state legislatures and control apportionment. In the end, in a democracy, the people govern. We count more than 9 judges.
Bottom line there. Alan Dershowitz, good to see you. Thanks so much.